Tracy, it's an absolute pleasure having you with us today. How are you?
I'm good, Cheryl, and thank you for having me today. Really excited to what we're going to discuss.
I'm excited for all the knowledge I know I'm going to get from you on this call, so thank you. So, Tracy, after 20 years of marketing experience in the IT industry, how would you describe the current ecosystem?
Sure, Cheryl. After being a quarter of a century in the tech industry, I would say that it has been rapidly evolving and changing. Just a decade ago, marketing was about being clever, what we call digital marketing, and be more personalized through account-based marketing. It's about driving impression, retargeting, inciting purchase behavior. But today, marketing has once again changed to the adoption of even newer technology. Even Facebook has been rebranded as Meta to go all in to metaverse. I would say there are 4 guiding principles that marketing need to adhere to remain competitive. Firstly, to be relevant. It's all about relevancy to the customer. And that's where curated content is king, is really residing in the minds of the marketeers today. Being an authentic and empathetic brand is totally important. Integrated. Marketing efforts needs to be integrated across different platforms. Today, before we purchase a product, we basically do our own research at our fingertips on multiple platforms. Connected. It's so important to remain connected to our customers 24/7 to ensure we maintain an ongoing relationship with our customers. And most importantly, journey is so critical that we accompany our customer on their journey to understand their behavior, their needs, their challenges. And these days, it's about plus follow. Who would you like to follow, right? And you have got a loyal fan club after you, and that's what we talk about relationship loyalty marketing in the past. With the evolving emerging technology, augmented and virtual reality is in play today, as well as the Internet of Things. The future of marketing has become screen agnostic, and by 2025, 75 billion devices will be online and connected. And according to Google, 90% of media is consumed across a number of screens. What does this mean to marketeers? We need to keep innovating, to break the rut of routine and not be a me too. Keep pivoting until you master the secret recipe of success. Think customers is key.
I'm glad you said that. And you mentioned something really important there as well about making sure that you do meet customers' needs. And that includes a diverse group of customers as well. You can't just keep creating things for one type of people, one demographic. And interestingly, I want to ask you that about the work you do on WIDL, especially about the fact that a recent data from Deloitte suggests that just 33% of 20 of the world's largest tech companies are women. And considering that 51% of the population are women, that's not a great figure. So why is it still so difficult for women to thrive in this space? Not so much marketing, because we know that there are a few women in marketing, but in well-paid tech roles.
Sure, that is a really important question that we need to really deep dive today. You know, Deloitte 2021 Women at Work study did a poll with 500 women in global tech companies, media companies, as well as telecommunications workforce. And it's interesting that they found that women have experienced dramatic drops in motivation and productivity at work. Job satisfaction, work-life balance have just gone downhill. The feelings of loyalty to their customers has also dwindled. workload has increased over the COVID season, and a majority of them had said that they were spending more time on household chores and dependent care as well, because we know that for many months last year, children were kept at home and not being allowed back to school. Boundaries between life and work collapsed. The ability to switch off from work has dropped dramatically. Only a handful of 22 to 30% have mentioned in the survey that their employer have increased their access to flexible work. And many of the companies do expect them to be back. Without citing certain organizations, big MNCs expect to be back in office 100%. Therefore, we see many of such organizations that employees are resigning, and that forms part of the Great Resignation as well.
Yeah, it is a tricky situation, and it's interesting that companies have seen that remote working works. So why then are they asking people to return to the office, knowing that productivity doesn't necessarily fall, and actually remote working or flexible working actually improves the lives of most people, especially women? I want to ask you then, Tracy, which type of jobs are women less present in the technology sector?
Sure. And just to add on to the comments you just made, even just looking at the Fortune Global 500 listing, women run 4.8% of the companies. And this is a finding from August 3rd, 2022 this year. So again, we do see that the needle has moved by 1 or 2 points, but again, there's still a lot to be done today. A recent World Economic Forum study has shown that 26% of professionals are in data, and only 12% of them are actually in the area of cloud computing professionals. I would say that probably in Southeast Asia, the stats are looking a little bit better. However, when it comes to tech data, developers work, tech engineers, data engineers, mostly we don't find a lot of women in this area. Why is that so? Firstly, it is also a perception, unconscious bias that women might think that this is a man's job. Or the person who are hiring would think this is a man's job because it's IT engineering. And therefore, we do see a huge disparity in terms between the gender diversity, equality in this area. Another potential reasons is also because of the degree gap. Research has shown this year that only 1.7% of the women globally are taking up STEM degrees. They probably felt more comfortable into human resource, into finance, or other area of work, but just not tech. Lack of confidence in technical ability has also caused women not to consider any tech job. But one thing that I would like to highlight here would be we need HR, we need finance, right? We need professional services. Tech industry comprises of just not tech gurus and domain experts. We also need domain experts in the other business functions as well. I would say that with the stigma being removed over time, we're going to see a higher uptake of women and youngers joining the tech industry.
And maybe it's a case that we also need to do more in schools to educate the younger women, girls, about the possibilities of working in STEM and trying to remove some of those stereotypes as well. And thankfully, you've been doing a lot of work with WIDL. You've launched that to recognize women leaders and data champions. What has changed with this program since launch?
This topic is going to get me talking and talking. Well, basically, when I started in tech, I graduated in marketing. Look, I'm from a non-tech background. I did my thesis in 1996 on internet marketing. I almost got thrown out by my university lecturer because it's like, what's tech marketing? There's no lecturer specializing in this area, so no one is going to help you in your thesis. You either change your topic to branding or you're going to fail your honors degree. So lo and behold, I went through it. It was painful. A year later, students were calling me out from Australia, where I did my university degree in marketing at Monash University. They were calling for my thesis. Fast forward, because I did marketing, I always, in those days, I want to be, in FMCG, in the B2C line, because it's more exciting. However, it's been 25 years, probably I'm stuck in tech. As I look back, I'm glad I've always been in tech. And over 2019, I started and first launched Women in Data Leadership. Why did I did that? Because I didn't have a lot of mentors that were guiding me, giving me a safe space to ask questions, to fail it forward, right? And this was started to target at the CIOs as well as the chief data officers from Fortune 500 and Global 2000 accounts. I was actually targeting my customers and the successful women leaders out there to get them into a circle to share, how did you do it? How did you get there? My first session took place, actually was launched in Manila, where I had the first Women in Data Leadership session with Accenture, over 60 aspiring managers. And then 2 months later, I was in Shanghai with a group of 20 Fortune 500 and Global 2000 female CIOs and tech leaders. And on that day of the event, there was a red alert on typhoon number 7 that was coming. Basically, they're supposed to be home by 4 p.m. They stayed to 7 p.m., not willing to leave. And once women get talking, they just keep pouring and sharing the stories of what they've gone through, the challenges of how they've overcome as a working mother. I had a privilege of meeting the CIO from one of the largest automotive organizations in China. I thought, wow, CIO is probably, she has 100. No, she has thousands of people under her. And she actually stayed up at midnight to write article on what she thinks, how women can thrive, to share tips with some of the audience on that day. This has also gone over to India, whereby we have the opportunity. I've spoken twice at the annual Economic Times Femtech Summit. And Korea, is our great honor to partner with Korean Women in Innovation. Was privileged to speak at the award session. And what's even more exciting is that from Cambodia, Sisters of Code, I met Natalia at the Women in IT Summit. She was a moderator last year and this year in the panel that I was in. She's going to come over, bring 11 tertiary students for their first overseas trip to explore tech opportunities. I can't wait to receive them in late October and share great stories with these youngest to empower them to pursue a passion in technology. And in November this year, we're going to have top leaders and tertiary students coming over in Singapore to discuss about multi-generational workforce. So this is, in summary, what we have done over the last few years since 2019.
You must be extremely proud of all you've achieved, and I applaud what you're doing. It's very inspiring to see that we have female leaders who are willing to pay it back and give themselves to the community so that others can grow. So thank you very much for all the work that you're doing there. I also want to talk to you a bit about what's been going on at Informatica. So what's been put in place to ensure the business provides an inclusive workspace that offers the same career opportunities to all, women, people who are of color, people with disabilities, from diverse communities. What has the company been doing?
Thanks, Cheryl. So Informatica, we are the enterprise cloud data management leader. And recently, we have just pioneered a new category of software called the Informatica Intelligent Data Management Cloud. And with its AI function called Claire, how we are helping customers is to drive next-gen analytics, perfectly time our customer experiences, ensuring data governance and privacy to ensure that all our customers around the world, the data is always accurate, insights are actionable, and the possibilities of having good data are limitless. And we have a very interesting values-driven culture called We Data. The first D stands for Do Good, is to foster an inclusive culture where we treat each other with respect, fairness, and dignity. A stands for Act as One Team, to constantly connect, communicate, collaborate as one diverse team. T, think customer first, accelerate customer outcomes in everything we build and how we deliver. And A, and this is my favorite, aspire and innovate, continuously and fearlessly innovate through curiosity and learning. Today, my CEO, Amit Walia, has adamantly making sure that every position there are female candidates, to make sure that it's a top-down, and we want to always make sure there's a women inclusion in every role that we have available at Informatica. Happy to say that we've already passed that 30% and heading up to 40%. We also have got the Next 25 program whereby we support some of the low-income families in Las Vegas, over in the US, to see them through over the years of their middle school to high school, eventually into college. And it's heartening to see this wonderful, growing, aspiring children every year on how they have grown. I'm not surprised even if one of them becomes the president of their own nation when they go back to the country. We have also partnered with She Loves Data, who has about 18,000 members globally. These are data-centric, data scientists, and people who want to get to know more about data. We have pioneered a Courage Council with She Loves Data. It's a partnership with Informatica. This is to bring around C-suites from all over the world to give their opinions, deep dive issues into issues on gender diversity, and to encourage and mentor the next generation, and to also put our efforts to increase the uptake of STEM education by the younger generation.
Thank you. Gosh, there's a lot of success to be had with all the work that the company is doing. And I'd be love to come back to you next year and talk through what you've seen change and how all you've done has impacted women, not only in Informatica, but across the sector, because it looks like you're doing some wonderful work there. And I also want to ask you, Tracy, so beyond mentoring and some communication campaigns, what can IT companies do to attract and retain more women?
You know, offering flexible work benefits is no longer sufficient for female employees or even any employees. Companies today must take that initiative to make sure that all employees feel valued and supported. In fact, I was interviewing for one of the candidates for a high-level role in one of the Asian countries, and I was asked, Tracy, does your company practice workcation? I'm like, wow, it's just an interview. He's already asking me, she's already asking me for vacation, right? And that got me curious to find out more, what is workation? Basically, there's no boundaries today with the aid of technology. It allows one to actually cover a certain region or countries from any part of the world. I think to get companies to be very inclusive, that to retain talent, to hire talent, right, to have this global mindset, this will change the future of work on how organizations today is going to move forward. There are other continuous efforts that companies must continue to provide. Firstly, provide upskilling opportunities. Today, there are a lot of courses that are available I would say that do not wait for the company to give you a course or ask you to attend a course. Reach out. Learning must be a lifelong journey. It must be part of our appetite, and developing both the soft skills and hard skills. Hard skills more like the know-how. The soft skills would be other than an IQ, right? It's about the EQ as well, emotional quotient. And I would say that I would like to bring in adversity quotient. When we went through COVID, many of us didn't know what to expect. Well, how are we going to do our job properly when there's so many disruptions? And that's where adversity quotient comes in, that in a very vulnerable situation, how do you bring orderliness into chaos? How do you still provide a good platform for your team to thrive on? And how do you ensure your customer needs are still being met without disruption? There are a few more points that I would like to add, such as implementing diversity inclusion training, creating a conducive and flexible work environment to allow your talent to thrive both at work as well as at home. Establishing a structured program to increase women's representation continues to be open to start this at the top down and to expand the recruitment criteria.
Thank you. You've touched on a lot of that, and one thing that comes to me is when doing all this DEI, diversity, equity and inclusion work, how important is it to consider intersectionality when looking at the needs of especially women in tech, Tracy?
Absolutely. I really do like this question, and we actually dissected, right, to understand a bit more what does it means by intersectionality. And this inequalities intersect with each other. For example, poverty, racism, sexism, denying people of their rights and equal opportunities. And we have a gender dividend for women in tech, which I've came up with just over a few years of embarking on multiple programs, and would like to share that with you. Firstly, on the tree itself, and we'll send you the diagram, it starts with education empowerment. By empowering young children, probably in a less sophisticated, not in the tier 1, maybe in the tier 3, tier 4, tier 5 cities, to encourage them, to give them the know-how of STEM subjects, that already will help them to thrive in their knowledge. With that would also help them and will grant them that digital empowerment, because a lot of what they learn is going to go online. And eventually with that, they're going to be trusted the workforce, and that will be economic empowerment, right? So again, with this, a lot of these students from probably third world countries, just from the question that you asked, if they were to go back to their village, to their city, to even impart the knowledge to the rest of the younger generation, that is how from a tier 4 city will eventually become a tier 2 city, or maybe one day a tier 1 city. And this could be further transferred when that individual goes in the workforce, that with the gender diversity mentality, firstly with the workplace empowerment, to empower people of all colors, gender diversity to come together to thrive as one team, and looking into mentorship empowerment to raise up the next gen of the younger leaders. And most importantly, it's not about us alone. It's about allyship. It's about acting as one team, whereby male, female, everyone come together to drive for the better good of the company and for that country. It is a great question.
Thank you. I have a couple more questions that I hope to ask you. The next one is, the data industries offers many opportunities for women. What would you say to any woman who wants to join it? And it could be at any stage of their career. They don't have to be young. They could be a returner. They could be pivoting to a new career. What advice would you like to give them?
I would say step up, and be courageous. Companies this day provide tons of internal enablement. As mentioned before, go get yourself trained on online courses constantly, and it's important to upgrade ourselves on both hard and soft skills. The tech industry looks out for people with multiple skills and domain knowledge. And I want to cite that the World Economic Forum estimates that by 2025, technology will create at least 12 million more jobs. It's a sign in the long run that automation, just like autonomous cars, like to the likes of Tesla, right, it will become a net positive for the society. So it's important that women step out and grab hold of this, basically jump on the bandwagon, right? And also, I will encourage everyone to be open to new opportunities, explore the different facets that the data or the tech industry has to offer. You can always try a day of maybe, shadowing in terms of internship, try out a day of being a data scientist, do a data analyst, and stay ahead of the industry trend that today, even professors have been told that in universities and colleges, they are not looking at a specific degree. In fact, when I brought my son to the tertiary institution, they were saying, would you like to join engineering and data science? Gone were the days whereby we specialize in one major degree or a minor, but today you probably graduate with 4 or 5 specialization. It could be tech and it could be something else. So I would say that tons of opportunities. Keep an open mind. The world is evolving. Don't lose out, but jump on in and learn. If you do not know, there are many mentorship groups out there that are willing to help young generation, maybe male or female, to get to the next level.
I have one more question for you, Tracy, and this is something that's very dear to my heart. What are your thoughts on leading a multi-generational workforce and the value that each generation can bring? And we're talking about, especially in the tech sector. I think this is a topic and an area that is completely misunderstood. And you have a lot of division between possibly the old and possibly the young. What are your thoughts?
Wow, this would open up a sort of a can of my passion on what I'm going to embark on in 2 months' time, talking and exploring in this area about multi-generational workforce, the best of the two forces coming together, and even about ageism. Before that, I just want to share something on my heart is that since COVID, the survival of the planet requires new thinking and strategies. We are in a pitched battle between a present array of resources, attitudes, and the future struggling, right, of those even who are yet to be born. We talk about gender diversity, but the first part of our call on women get it. And truly, young people get it, right? They are creating a whole different mindset. And the problems we face moving forward are not technological, but human, because the human system is broken. And that's where it's so important for the experience and the senior of those who have more number of years in the workforce to share with the younger generation in terms of how did they get there? What was the strategy? In terms for, I would say, for the older workforce, relationship was so important about EQ. We say that EQ is even more important than IQ, right? Because the younger generation are born in a digital native world. They may not have interacted with a lot of people. In fact, I've heard a lot about life stories about how the young are freaking out, seeing people having anxiety breakdown because I've never seen hundreds of people in a conference. I don't know how to carry myself. And that's where the beauty, whereby the more senior experienced generation coming to share the tips on how they thrive in the past. And also it's important for this high-level C-suite who are more senior experienced to learn the creative, innovative ideas that they have, and this ideas is going to form the newer economy there is to come. During COVID, we are already history makers, making new history, creating a new economy. With pandemic ongoing and borders have opened up and we could start traveling internationally, businesses are already taking place across various countries right now, but it's a whole new world we are stepping into. It's so important that the seniors get in touch with the aspiring young boys and girls and tertiary students who are currently undergrads coming out. In fact, when under the Women in Data Leadership Program, we have a privilege to actually share and talk to many of those aspiring tertiary students. I am amazed by what are they thinking about, and many of them has even on the sideline while pursuing a degree started their business. Who says you need a Harvard degree to start a business? Times has changed. The beauty of these two generations coming together can form a formidable workforce that will create solutions for the economy ahead. I would also like to, from the multi-generational workforce, touch on the topic of ageism. It's never too old to change industry. There's never too old to look for a job. Have confidence in yourself. Break that glass ceiling. Don't let other people have that unconscious bias on you. You have the domain knowledge. Your years of experience brings a wealth of knowledge to the industry, to the markets that you're going. If you look at presidents and prime ministers of global countries and nations, they probably are doing it in the 50s and 60s. So what about ageism? The more you have lived through history, the more knowledge you've accumulated, you're going to help and bless a lot of people. So if you are thinking, I'm too old to change industry, I'm too old to be an entrepreneur, to be a CEO, you're at the right age. And I've known many seniors who have actually ditched their corporate job with the mindset of raising up young leaders, have gotten a major pay cut, but have got 20, 30, 50 youngsters in the company to groom them for the future. And this is something that I want to encourage. If you are thinking that this is not for me, put that thought away. Just step up, step out, be courageous. You never know the possibilities ahead of you.
Thank you, Tracy, for your wise words, your inspiration, and all that you do in the industry to encourage women, diversity, and all generations. I know that today's listeners will take a lot away from what you said, have some actions and some tips, and be able to work on their careers as they progress in the sector. So thank you again. It's been a real pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you, Cheryl. It's my honor. And here's to all women and girls and everyone out there. We can do this together. Believe in yourself.